Good morning and welcome. I'm not shouting too much, right? We start slowly. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Antoine, the new US business manager, but I met some of you, I think, around 6 months ago. I'm not a rookie so much anymore. I'm still at rookie level 2, though. I'm still learning some stuff. I would like to welcome you to quite an exciting agenda, actually. A bit more varied to the one we had in December, because in the morning it's going to be dedicated to primarily interoperability, but there's also another new item we would like to share with you, which is Cambridge. We'll brief you on the extranet portal, the new part of the extranet in the US portal, sorry. And you'll get quite an overview of what's happening there. I think it's appropriate that we keep you up to date on that one. And then Christophe will then continue on the new standards survey. He'll give you an update and continue most probably on what we started last year. We break again at around 3:30, and then we'll go towards the last part of the afternoon where we talk about the best practices and interoperability. We'll have a bit of an exchange on that one. And finally, we'll talk to you about some EC tools for your team, for you guys here. That's just about it in terms of the agenda. We also would like to mention that I think this is the meeting where we've hit a small record. We are more than 30 people for this meeting, so it's a growing family. And we'd like to keep it as a family, so feel free to propose ideas. Feel free to agree or disagree with some of the stuff we will be discussing today. And mingle with us, ask us questions. We don't want to have a top-down approach in our discussion. We'd like to have a conversation to ensure that the project goes quite well. It was great actually getting to know a lot of you in December. It really helped me to start to understand this project. But now we can continue that conversation today with the rest of the team. And there is Elke here, who I'm sure most of you know, Christophe, who will be carrying a lot of the load for today, and Ralph will be available for the whole day too. So you can discuss with us anything. This is the team. We have limited time, unfortunately, limited meeting time, but we'll make ourselves available for you. Another important point, don't forget the event is being live streamed. So when you ask questions, please use the microphone. Also make sure to speak a bit slowly and clearly. This applies to me as well. If you don't understand anything what I say, please feel free to ask me. My English is not always the best. I think that's it from my side. I emphasize again, please do actively participate. If you have doubts about anything, if you didn't understand anything, feel free to discuss with us. We'll fight outside or inside, make friends outside or inside. It's always welcome. Enjoy the day, and I give now the floor to Christophe. And welcome again. Thank you.
So for my part as well, good morning, and I'm very happy to see indeed that our family is getting bigger and bigger. I was discussing with Elke that we would maybe after this meeting we would do a kind of a survey. What I would like to know also from your side is these kind of meetings, how are they going? Is the information at the correct level? Because a lot of you are managers or IT people. So I would like to know if you come to this meeting, like, okay, what's the expectations? Are there other topics to be discussed? So this is our meeting. You know, the goal of this meeting is to exchange what we are doing from the Commission, but to learn from your part what you're doing so we can provide services. So it's good sometimes to see, I think the meetings are really going well. We are now in full flight, I would say. We've got all our processes going, so we are ready for the next level. And that's also why I introduced the topic about the interoperability best practices. I really want to come to a point where we sit together and discuss, even brainstorm great new ideas about what we could be doing on this matching engine, or what could we do, or that someone of you is building some system and that we are going to provide the building blocks to it. That's the goal of this meeting, not only talking about errors and data quality, which needs to be done, but once we're there. So I think having a survey also asking about the format or things, just an open question to you if someone has great ideas. So that's an idea we have after this meeting. Quite a heavy agenda today. All the documents, as always, are on our Dropbox folder. I created a new shortcut because I saw I made a snip URL to a couple of documents. And for some reason, this tool has thrown me out. It said I was spamming people because it was a link to a Dropbox. And so maybe, I don't know, if someone has if I mailed it to someone and that was considered spam, and because of that I was kicked out and this shortcut was just cut off. So I was not so happy about that if you put this link everywhere. So now I'm using Bitly, which is a common known. I thought that I had found a great alternative, but apparently I'm back to this one. So I apologize if you could not reach the document. But this is all going to be solved by the project of Ralph, when we will be on the extranet and have our little clubhouse there. We don't need these external tools anymore, I hope. But we will learn about that later on. So, heavy agenda. First, some feedback from our side, what we have been doing on the use of the processes. I'm still very happy. I think all the effort we put in putting down these processes, it's really working. I get nice things in Jira, good questions. If things are changing, I'm getting it in, downtime reports. The whole system is working. The only two things I need to mention is some of you are, for instance, reporting bugs on your own system, just to let us know. You can just share this information by the ticket info support, just to communicate something, because the bugs is only used for us to if we notice problems on data quality on your side. So it means really we found an official issue in your system. Of course, if you know about one, you can inform us, but we will do proper testing and put the ticket in as it's supposed to be, because you don't know all the settings and stuff about that. So if you are in doubt about I want to raise something, use the info support ticket, put your question in, and if it should be a bug or whatever, I will do the changes for you. Because if it's once it's not in the proper ticket kind, I cannot move the workflow as I want. So then I'm a bit stuck. And also some tickets that you open, I give answers, and then they just stay there in the last state. And normally the last state would be if you put in a ticket, at the end you should say close, which is a signal to me like you're happy. Happy customer, ticket closed. Now I'm closing, if there is a ticket open for, let's say, half a year, I'm going in, I'm closing them. But it would be nicer, of course, to see that you close them, then I know, like, you're happy. Just two details. For the rest, really great work with the processes. Or functional method specification document. For the new people around here, maybe just a check. Who is new to this group here today? Quite a lot, eh? Yeah. So this is something that we see happening, that people are moving, organizations are changing all the time. You know, that's life. So we also have to find a way of introducing new people. That's why I have a session at the very end for people that want to stay, where I will give an introduction to our club to say, which will also be recorded. This will help if come new people. I can take this part out and I say, people, please watch this video, and to help new people get there. So even if you then would have someone, colleague helping in, you could use that video. Or if you want to catch up on some things we learned, you can watch the video yourself. So the FMES document is our Bible. It's the document that describes all the details about the web services that we use to exchange. And I propose a little change in there. I found out that the contact field, which is the field where you put in the name of the employer or the person that needs to be contacted for a vacancy, that one was required. And the how to apply field was optional. Now the how to apply field is a codified field with codes 1 to 7. And normally if you look at the codes, it should always be one of them. It's 1 to 6 is a code, and the 7 means like, I don't know, it's in the free text somewhere above. So it should be one of those, because it could not be that there is no how to apply information in a vacancy. That would be very strange. So I propose to make the how to apply mandatory in the next version of the document, meaning that if you don't know what to put from 1 to 6, you put 7, which is none of the above codes, it's somewhere in the description we put how you need to apply, which is very important for the system, because the system is quite strict on these codes, and we have some issues, and some of you corrected already, that we don't have the proper information displayed because of this code. And of course, the contact field, if you use like code 3, meaning send a letter to the US advisor or something, then you don't supply maybe some contact information, so it should be optional, that field. We noticed this on the feedback from the last meeting when we were doing the quality reports, that this field was set as being a problem for some, and based on that feedback, you see, we went in, we investigated, and this is the result. So as Antoine said, keep coming the feedback, so there are no stupid questions. If you think like, why is this like that? Ask the questions, because it could be important. We also introduced last meeting the NACI code update, that we were to go to the next level, and some of you already did, so you see how fast our club members are. The bad news is that I went also to my colleagues at DG Employment saying, hey, they can change, can you please update this code on our side? And then there was not so good news, because the code is being used everywhere in the system. It needs a full impact analysis, you know that. When they say, when IT people come to you say, we need to do an impact analysis, you know, like, okay, it's not going to be there this year. So this has been launched now to see what would be what needs to be changed on the system, also with existing data in our data warehouse, how to update this, and it's ongoing. So it is moving, but I cannot tell you like, hey, we're going to do this at the end of the year, we're going to do the switch. Nevertheless, if you do the change on your system, it's good, because you will be prepared for what's coming, and it could be that some tools are going to say that these codes are incorrect because they're still checking on the old codes. We will just ignore that. So some of you already updated, great. So you beat us. And we will try to do our best. Also, I need to get these things in our business plans. And so for the moment, on our side, it's on hold, but please progress. The moment we know that we have to progress, we will arrange a date and end date and communicate that this task has to be done by then. So for the moment, it's only announced. It's not an official task yet. Any questions about that, maybe? No? There is a big upcoming release, which is now scheduled to be live beginning of August. It's already tested and is going to be delivered in the coming weeks. But the people that need to deploy it are going to be on holiday in July, and I'd rather not put something big in production while the people that can solve problems are not there. So we all agreed that we put this on production first week of August. They are all back from holiday and full of energy, so it should go very swift. This is a very important one, also for us. To find a job, the current search for a job is going to go out, and the beta, as you know, is going to replace it. So it's going to go inside the screens. If you go into the system, you will not find the old search for a job anymore. And we are launching also some emails to people to warn them. If you have, for instance, saved search profiles on the old system, you will get an email saying, okay, at this moment there is a beta, go and put your saved search profiles in there, because they're not migrated, make them there, because this one is going to disappear. And once it's disappeared, you cannot find your saved search profiles anymore. So, yeah.
Get a sample from this email?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was be interesting.
Okay. Elke, can you take that action point? She will only hear me in 3 seconds. There is a 3-second delay to the sound. So we will send the email as an example that you will see what people will be receiving. Yeah. And there will also be on the portal where you have your saved search profiles comes a warning saying this is going to disappear. Please go there in the beta. And so what the search profiles you make in the beta are going to stay, because it just becomes the production one. So they are all going to be And a lot of people are already making search profiles in the new system. We had a little issue to see how things can, just one little setting on a production server was not, a fuzzy factor was set to 1 instead of 2. Can you imagine? And that meant that all the search profile emails that are being sending out, the figures in there saying how many new there are wrong. They are too big. So these are things, but if you would click on the link, then the results would be okay. But these are, that's why it's still in the beta phase. But this should all be, so this is a big change because it means that the old system is going out. And we will have the first matching, which I showed you last meeting. We'll have a first matching engine beta. If you have a CV online on the EURES portal and you are in certain criteria, because we limit the access at the beginning to see what the server does, you will have a link saying match, give me matching jobs, and you will get immediately a list of the 10 best matching jobs to your CV. You don't have to put any search criteria, it will just use your CV and your desired occupation settings. So we want to see how this is working. It will also have like buttons where people can say this was good, this was bad, so we can go a bit and see what's happening. And I will come a bit back. We've got some other ideas that I want to share with you, what we're going to do already in an upcoming new version. And this is also on this matching. We are doing stuff. We went to a presentation from the VDAB on their matching solution, which is, I thought is super. That's why I added the topic to the agenda that I want to hear from you if you're also working on this. Let's get our brains together and we should not be inventing all the same, I guess. So this matching is you know how long we've been working towards a matching engine. This beta, getting this live and getting to see what people are doing is really something we're looking forward to. And Maria from Greece, who should be online following this. Hi, Maria. She asked me for the new beta, if it would be possible if she would put a link to that beta on her website in Greece, that if you would open it, that the filter would be immediately put on Greece, meaning that it would open as if jobs from Greece, the beta. So I requested this, and there is an open ticket now for an upcoming release. I don't know, I think it's going to be in 3.6, that this would be possible. So you could provide the link to our search with an extra parameter, which is a country code. And if people would follow that link, they would end up directly on your country. So people saying, I want to have this on my website could have a direct window to only your local. So that was a great idea, I think, for Maria, and we will do this. So again, if you have ideas like that, don't hesitate to send them in. It's the whole purpose of providing services to you. Any questions on this? I think we also are preparing, we have to see how we are preparing more release notes. So that's also feedback we got from stakeholders that if we have new releases, we should better communicate what's in there, what's new in another way. And that's something we're working with Antoine to see how we could improve on that as well, to let you know what's coming. There was a question, yeah.
Through this? Yeah, there, now. Oh, Bruce Anderson from Sweden. With the release in August, does that mean that we can depreciate the count and find
web service.
Web service in the web service?
No, not yet. We'll come to that. There is one more thing working with those codes, which is the search engine API. So this is one of the goals, to get the full whole system out, which would mean that two of the web servers we're using, the one that you just mentioned, so the count and the find, which is a very hard one to keep going. We're going to kill them, but not yet. So this will also be announced here clearly. As of that date, you can stop. So please keep them alive, because we need them for the. But I will come back to the API later on, and that's the point on that plan. Any other questions? No? The planning. This is coming directly from our headquarters planning. We've been making a very big plan together with the whole team and Antoine about what we're going to do this year. And we're focusing on deliverables. What you're seeing here is, in this year, it's when it's put there, it's going to be there. It's intended to be there. We are doing other stuff, so some other projects are ongoing and analysis, but we're focusing really on deliverables. That's why sometimes you will see that there are a lot of things in future deliverables and wish lists, meaning we will be working on them, but they're not going to get out of the factory yet. So we already had to find the job beta 0.7 that went live in the first quarter. That added the safe search profiles to the system and the translation of the interface in all languages. So that went live, and as I just said, the V1 is going to be in release 3.6 in August. So it was scheduled for quarter 2, but because of having it in production, it will be slightly. We always say it's going to be released in summer. That's a bit. You never know in Belgium when summer starts. So. And then the search engine API, I will have a whole topic on that, so I will not go into details, but the search engine API is going to come out of the factory in different versions over the coming months, years. I will have a separate, I will not go into details. For the future, we want to improve. This API is very important, it's going to be a major thing to work on. We want to have some small ideas onto how to improve the find a job. Some things on the screen are not really clear to me. Some selections like the occupation code, people are not finding quite. So there are lots of ideas based from the feedback that we're getting from users that we could improve. And we're going to have a user specialist, user interface specialist as well, helping us to see if we can do some better job there. Because if you have 15 people saying, I could not do this, well, there is a clear button that you could do it, then this button is not quite okay. So this user feedback is a very good thing to have. The next version of the Find a Job is going to be then a major upgrade where we want to have translations of results. This is the most asked topic. We have a whole study which is now completed to try to select and find a service to do this. This service is going to be some service that we have to pay for. That's the drawback. So we are looking if we could offer it to people that are registered. So try to limit the usage, having it to people that are registered on the portal. So let's say our real customers, the VIP customers, to offer it to them in a first to see what's the usage and if we can reuse translations that have been requested. The problem is that we are getting all the vacancies in detail always from you. So I cannot store translation because 10 minutes later if someone asks the same, I'm again going. That's the rule we have. We always go for the details live to your system because they could be updated. So I cannot store, so if someone asks in Maltese and then in Croatian, I always have to go and ask the translation again. So we have to do it on the fly. So we have to see about cost and performance. But I think this is one of the most important things to have, these translations. It's 75% of requests and user feedback is, can you please? And the second one is, I can only speak 3 languages, don't show vacancies that are not in my language capabilities, which is something else. So also there's an analysis ongoing with the contractor how to do this in the interface. It's not that simple as it seems. Then we have to adapt the PDT, the testing tool. For the new ones we will see what it is. We have a testing tool. If you're going to drop the find and drop count and do some other changes, then we have to adapt always this tool. The monitoring tool, the tool that is watching you all the time if you're live or not, is also counting on first doing a count and a find. It cannot do that anymore if the 2 are gone, so it needs to be adapted. You see, small changes, big impact. Then our replication, the NACI codes, you see, that we wanted to get in, it's adapting the replication admin is even not yet on the plan for 2015, so we will be doing the analysis, the impact, but there will be probably no release on our side for this year to have this thing really working. The job vacancy management, that's the central best. There is a place on the portal where you can put a vacancy in directly on the US portal. This one has to be updated. If we go over different NACI codes, we have to go and do our own homework and change that. It's also going to be in the impact analysis. And as we have a reform going on for Euris, it's possible that some of you will have some partners and we'll have multiple links for a country. connecting links with web servers. So we have to find a better way of grouping that I can say, okay, you are managing maybe 3 links, so it needs a whole new system as well. So you see, all these things are already on the plan. Just because we make one decision today, there is a whole list, but then we're not talking about even new cool features or whatever that can be added as well. So this is the plan for track 1. For new people, it's very important to know our interoperability is having 2 parallel tracks. One is with the existing web servers. We've got existing web servers with an existing format, which we only do small changes to get the maximum out of that. The new search, for instance, is using the same data as before. We cannot ask you to change big things, so we are going to get the maximum out of the, it's like having an old car and trying to update it and tweak it to keep it going as long as you can, you know. That's what we're doing here. The second track is the future, that we are building a new system with 2 what I call hubs or indexes, one for job vacancies, a new one for CVs, where we'll have all the CVs. That's the idea. And there we're building the new standards, meaning that the format that we exchange is going to be a new one, a much bigger one, because the old one is not accommodating a couple of things. For instance, you cannot have a job for 2 regions, only one. Stuff like that needs to be improved. So the new standards are being built, and we will build a new exchange system on them, a new finder. So the whole thing we have today can be upgraded and uplifted the moment we would have this. The idea, by the way, at this moment, if feasible, is that we keep the old index and we will upgrade that one. So not make a complete separate system, but try to build on top of the ones having also, because you are not going to change all at the same time. So finding a way of having the old and the new data coming into the same system, and having your interface just accommodate if there is some data missing to do the best we can. Because you know it's not going to happen that I can say to you, let's on that date all of you will use the new system. That will never happen. That would be a miracle. So what's on this track? The new standards. You all went to that very painful exercise of filling in the survey maybe for the standards. So this is the track. We need to get 2 standards that we agree and are feasible. Then we know what we're going to exchange. That's the main thing for this year. Is put on quarter 2, depending on the results, and we will share this with you, the first one. There will be some extra actions needed as well. But once we have, let's say, a first draft, maybe with some pending details, we will start working on, which is not going to be done for the end of this year, a full new design document on this new system. How are we going to exchange? The same web services, other web services, a new system. How are we going to test and monitor this? So the whole design architecture of the future system that we will be using. You can imagine that this is not a small thing. So this is going to be analysis done, information will be spread, be tested with you. And I think if you have a design document in 2016, that's already a great milestone. And then, of course, if you have the design document, then again, an impact analysis. How do we move from the old to the new without too much pain? And then even future, of course, have this design system built, get it done. Then we have to adapt our GV index. We have to make the CV hub. If the regulation everything goes okay, we go for the CVs. Then our central, if we have new standards, our central base has to be updated as well. We have to make our own new entry thing there. And of course, our own CV online. We have a CV online. If we ask you to adapt to a standard, we will have to do it ourselves as well. So all of this is track 2, new data exchange standards, the future, which is going in parallel. And we cannot wait for this. That's why we're trying to do on track 1. We try to get out the max possible. Any questions on this? Okay. One last thing on interoperability on the planning is the matching engine. The goal is to have automatic matching of vacancies to one CV. So what we're doing, each time we have a new part coming in, like we get ESCO in, or we get a new tool in to, like the natural language processing, we got a tool which is capable of reading all the text in the vacancies, looking at ESCO, DISCO, and some other taxonomies, and it can infer or guess the skills of that vacancy. So this is running already. It's reading it only at the moment in a couple of languages, I think 2 or 3, and it's putting the skills on there. On our CV side, people are putting skills from ESCO. They pick them manually. So then we do matching, and that's what this first matching engine is going to do. It's going to match not only the skills, also on occupation and some other settings like regions and stuff that you put in, and it's going to do matching on that. That's Q2, release 3.6, the first version, limited languages. That's why I say only a couple of users, the users that have the CV in the correct language, they will get a trigger saying, hey, you could now do the matching. For instance, if you create a new CV, that's one of the triggers. If you create a new CV in one of the correct languages, it will then send you a mail or notification like, hey, you could use the beta. Do you want to see automatic matching? The next version of that is going to be more languages already done, so it needs to be tested, it's developed. And then, of course, future, and I will come to that, some ideas in the next slide, improvements. We have a lot of ideas, and even if you go and, for instance, went to the VDB and we saw a demo there, we get more ideas, or we go to the contractor and say, you said that's not possible. We saw it there, and then they say, yeah, maybe it is possible. So based on good feedback, we can push the limits there. One thing is, now you could just get a score. You get a list, and it says 10 out of 10, score 9 out of 10. Of course, you want to see the details. And this is the first screen I got. That's what the contractor goes. We had a lot of discussion that the screen is totally not going to look like this one, because it gives you an idea that it can give you your score on matching on a certain vacancy in more detail, like it was really good matching on the occupation. Because if it's not, if there is no good match on occupation, this vacancy is not considered even, so that's a cutoff. So that can never be read, then it would not be there. But then, for instance, location was not good and some skills were not matching. And then the system can even go, and that's what's really nice, say like, this one is lower because you're missing, it seems that your CV is missing the skill. And then the user can go like, but then I have this skill. Then there is something wrong with my CV, and we provide him a link to go to the CV and add the skill to say, this is me, or the person can think, then maybe I should acquire this skill. I should go for a training. So from this point of analysis, you can already have a couple of use cases that you start helping this user to do the next step, which is also great in the system from the VDAB, that it doesn't stop by just giving a score. It starts saying, maybe you should consider this, because you asked for that. You know, I've got much more hits in this occupation, which is related, because ESCO can tell you, or taxonomies can tell you, there are some related occupations, and you put this one. Maybe you should consider that one, because then I've got much more hits. So, you see, I think matching is a dialogue. You try to do your best, you give it to the user, and the user tells you what he likes and not like that. You tweak it. You get the first thing, no, a bit of this, a bit of this. This is how it should work. It starts automatic, easy, and then you tweak. So we're doing also then natural language recognition on CVs. The users are putting skills on their CVs. But the idea was, let's also run the machine on that, because they have to put it manually. We don't know if they spend enough time to select skills. So if you read the descriptions, their presentations, if you read that and we try to infer again with some knowledge what we think are skills, we could present this to the user saying, based on this, for us, we don't think you have these skills mentioned, or you could have these. And then again, the user can go like, yeah, maybe, yeah, you're right. Please add them to my CV, and then the matching can go. They have to see how this works, because there the user really did the job and you're trying to guess as well. I'm curious to see how this would work. And also depends a lot on, you have to feed the system with knowledge. So like if the ESCO taxonomy becomes much more detailed, and they're working a lot on detailing this taxonomy, much more good descriptions, the more you get in, or if you could get Rome in or whatever, dictionaries, you feed into that system, it gets smarter. There are great systems for this, for instance, on ID matching, because on IT there is a lot of knowledge, there are a lot of descriptions, what a COBOL or whatever a web developer has to do. There is a lot of text, so this can be fed easily. But if you have to do a system that is smart for all of the jobs possible in Europe. That's something like, especially like people that want to work in a factory, it's much more difficult to read their CV and to understand what kind of skills this person had. So that's the challenge for us. And then the analytics, and there I'm really curious to see. We came to a conclusion that the number of CVs we have today is not too big to say, why don't we match for all the CVs? We match at night all the vacancies. We run it through this server and we say, do matching. And if you would store for each CV all the hits on all the vacancies, you get a very interesting picture. I can ask then, what are the best matching? Which vacancies have the most CVs, so the most potential of finding someone? Which of these vacancies don't have any CV that match? So there is a clear skills gap. So you could do really market analysis. Can you imagine if you would have all the CVs from Europe and all the vacancies? And if you could run this, you get a complete, let's say, demand and supply vision in analytics that you could start exploring and seeing, okay, what's happening here? So this would be, so we are designing this now on our system to get the data, how to store it, and to see what we could do with it. And the most interesting thing is automatic email. Suppose that we are scanning for your CV every night, all the vacancies. Then you can wake up in the morning and have an email. There are 2 new vacancies that have a 10 out of 10 match in your inbox without you having to go there and read like notifications or go into the list. You just get, the moment there is one, a perfect match, or you adapt your CV the next morning, 10 new vacancies with a perfect match, they're there. So that would be a great thing as well it's the same analytics. Each CV, you know the score, you know the new ones compared to yesterday, and do something. So this is something that I want to see. So now it's in the study phase with our contract. They are developing already the systems to do and store the data. So we will have the data, and then we have to build the systems to go and analyze. So I want to keep you, this is what we are doing on the matching engine. It's based on what we know from our contractor and expertise. It's based on what we see when we see you. So, and this matching engine is going to be exposed to you. So the whole idea is that at a certain moment, if you have won a CV or a vacancy, you can throw it at our system and you get back the other part from the system. So it's important that this system is doing and is capable of what you want. So if you have systems on your side with some expertise, please feel free to discuss this with us. And that's why I want to have this new topic. To start not only matching, but also searching for CVs or whatever, because this is our job, our main job. So I want to have the expertise, let's say, shared. That's my view. Any question on this? So this is ideas to go beyond the next beta. And it's really another way of thinking. It's first time when we were saying, I'm going to store this analytics, I was going like, what are you going to do? And then it's only when you go in and you start thinking about it in a different way that you see the potential. Okay, so this will be continued as we have the real screens. I will share this with you to get some feedback. Okay, so that was the first point on the agenda, a bit status from our side. So some risks coming up, some building blocks going on, and then the long-term analysis with the standards document going on. So for us, it's quite an important next release. Is the work, when we started with this index table 2 years ago, the next release is going to be a milestone for us, having the new system running and providing all the data. By the BI, I didn't mention this, I did a demo last time. So the BI is still there. I provided some statistics already from that system to internal people to do a check, and they were very happy with it. So that's the next thing. These reports will be finished over also this year. Each quarter there are some new reports. If this system is more available, let's say external, I would like to organize something for the meeting to share with you, or maybe hands-on to see a bit what kind of reports we could supply to you. There is a lot of demand from the network on statistics, I know. And for the moment, I'm holding it off a bit, because if I would get 100 requests for, can you give me this by this by this, and I have to go into the system, I could be having 3 people doing this. And We're not yet there, and I would like to see each report and test that it's correct, because it's a new system, you know. I don't want to send out data and you making decisions on data that has not been double checked. So please have some patience there. Okay, how am I doing on the timing? 10:40. So the scores, we discussed this last time, so I will go about a bit fast. Last time we presented you the way we want to calculate our new score, our benchmark of our interoperability. There is a whole document, was made a whole document. We had some feedback from you, and we incorporated the feedback into the new presentation. The goal of today is to go to the final proposal and to get your agreement that this is the setup for the score. And then we have the next steps. So some parts I will go fast because it's not so much time we have for that. There is a full document with all written down, so some people are new, so maybe to some it's new, so feel free to read the document, and there's quite a lot of text. We're going to score on 4 things. Are you up and running, uptime? Is the replication or system is exchanging every night all the vacancies with you in an index table? That's when I talk about replication. How successful is this running? You should be up and running all the time, because each time a job seeker wants to see details, we go to you. That's why you should be up all the day, and not only during replication. Second, of course, important thing is that when we replicate, to make the index, this should run okay. That's the second score. The data quality, quite evident. What are we exchanging? We have rules for how it should be. Is it okay or not? And then changes. If we ask you to change something, we have a process for this. How good are you doing at doing what we agree upon? We had the most discussion on that point, and we have a total different. This is for us. Our colleagues from US Reform at the NCO could have other things about interoperability, like if you're sharing all your vacancies, so the transparency, but this is policy level. Here we are benchmarking what we agree in this meeting, how well are you doing? And we're providing this information. Uptime is going to be generated by 2 things. We have a monitoring tool that's monitoring 24/7 everything what's happening. If you are up there all the time, you get 75 points out of 100. And that could be Jira tickets. So if you are down, I'll just show the detailed screen that says most. This is the monitoring tool, which is showing if you're up or not. Like the green one is up, a blue one means we have a known issue. So we're not sending an email to you every 10 minutes. Once we know you've got an issue, we put it to blue saying we know, and we keep watching. So this system is, our help desk is constant monitoring this system, and it's escalating the moment we see an issue for more than 2 hours, that is. It's going to open a ticket, and you know, there's a whole document on that, what you should do. It goes to a first level operational contact, and then it goes to you. And you will get, as requested, read-only access as from release 3.8.0. I asked the question, when will it be there? Because that's the question you will ask. They hope to have it somewhere this year. There is no delivery date to us. When we get delivery, we do a full testing. So I hope by our next meeting, which is going to be in June. By the way, you've got an agenda where there are a lot of meetings for us, because I reserved 4 slots to be sure that if there would be some emergency, we would have an extra meeting. There are only going to be normally 2. So my apologies that all these 4 has been communicated to you. There was quite some confusion. Even I didn't know that the 4 were communicated. But someone communicated the whole calendar from the budget file to the external people, so I apologize. So the next one there is one scheduled according to this calendar in September. It's not going to happen. I'm trying to get it to the 4th of December, because there is an IT working group again, I think, on the 3rd planned, and I want to do it again, like now, back to back for the people that are in both groups. But more details, but remember, nothing in September. We go for December. So I hope by then to have the access, and then we do a demo of how you get there. So the question was, if we need to know that we're up and running and issues, can we also have a look ourselves? Yes, you will have access to this tool and you can see yourself if you are up and running. So again, thanks to your feedback, I went back and we got it. And this is the whole procedure in Jira. You only get penalty points if we reach escalation 3 and 5. The first is, you have to say, when I say there is an issue, you just have to say, I saw it. I saw your ticket. If this takes you to 3, meaning that 2 people in a row on your side didn't answer within so many hours and whatever, it ends up on my desk, and if I'm not happy, I give penalty points. The second thing is then you say, I'm going to fix it by then. If this takes, if there is no response, so even if you would say, okay, but we don't get it fixed, it's going to be fixed by next week, then there is no issue. But the moment there is no more communication and deadlines expire and we don't get any new information, then it goes on again, maybe up to my level. So normally, if things are well communicated, even if the issue would last for months, things can happen. But if we know about it and you follow the process, you will not get any penalties on this. Of course, you will get a penalty on the uptime. If you're down the whole month, 75 points will not be achieved. So I go quickly because this has been discussed last time. Unless I go quickly, that doesn't mean if you have any question that you cannot. So this is how it will look. This is the report you get with a total on 75 from the monitoring tool, and then your escalation tickets, if there are any, which lead up to a potential score of 100. And these were some draft figures from just the test report. So most of the time, this is quite okay. The next thing is replication. We are running a replication every night, and we said we're going to test on the number of times that this normal replication, so the automatic one, all the time that this goes okay, gets through it, these ones are counted. So if we see that we have 15 replications in a month and 10 of them went without any issue, you have 10 out of 15 as a score. That's basically the system. And then, of course, there could be Jira tickets. If we really have an issue, if we discover something which is wrong in your system, which is blocking this, then we can open a ticket with an impact score. Because then it will not work, then we just will tell you, okay, maybe it's even working every day, but there is something inside the system which is causing a lot of issues for the application, then we open a ticket. So again, there you will have access to the reports we use to get there. There will be, this is the back end of the replication, and we have a new tab at the end, download reports, where you have a status report, which is giving the total overview of the replications. I will show that in the next screen. And a quality report, which is going to show you on every field how much percent you're scoring, which are the wrong codes you're sending in, so you get the full detail on your quality. And that's also the thing we use for. So it's full transparency there. You have all the details, all the data, how we're calculating. And I think it was a great idea to give you access, because if you only notice after a couple of days or only after a month that you had quality issues, yeah, you need to be able to react. So with the access to this system, you will have full access, read-only access to all the information, so also the dashboard where you can see each day if you've been running or not, if there are issues. So if you would see like the data is not up to date on the portal for mine, you can go there and check if you've been running over the last days. So you will get full insight on our kitchen. And this is famous replication report, and we asked to add 3 columns to make the reports, and they are there as of 3.6, so also in August. This is from test environment. So what we needed to add is the type of replication, because the manual ones, the one that I'm doing, if I see in the morning that there was a problem, I do a manual one. Those ones should not be counted. For instance, the first one, Ireland went into quarantine in a regular application. Why? Because there was a variation check problem. This one is not a bad, so this is not counted as a bad replication. It's okay. The system is just checking that if you have too many new vacancies, or if it would delete too much vacancies. For instance, if you would replicate, it would delete all of your vacancies. It stops. It will not do it. It will warn me saying, hey, this one is going to delete all the vacancies. So it gives me a chance of contacting you, saying what's happening, because you will seem that you want to. So sometimes it stops because the limits have been put. So if you, for instance, connect a new source, you would have more vacancies, then it will stop a couple of times. I will then see, oh, this is normal. I will increase the parameter and it will go and run. So that's a variation check, so that's not an issue. This one would be counted as a good replication because, as you see, I do one manual. In the morning I get in, I say this is okay, manual. The same with variation check, sanity checks, like here. This one is checking in the data. If I see more than 90% of wrong ISCO codes, I can put these percentages for each of you. If I see that you're going for one of the main quality things like ISCO, NUTS codes, contract codes, if you're going over the limit, it also stops. And it will say, we better check. For instance, if you switch your ISCO codes and then you didn't tell me, I have this, I go in, I go, I think they updated their ISCO codes. I go to the PDT tool, I test, I see, yes, they update, I change the setting and I run it again and it goes in. So this prevents, if I would not do this, it would import all the wrong codes into the system and all your occupations would be gone. So this has been put a lot of effort that this thing is checking what's happening before doing the actual thing, and we will go to count all the good lines of this. So only when there is really an issue like pestats, the one that says pestats at the end, meant that at that moment, that's the first command we do, it never go through. We tried 15 times, no response, that replication failed. That's a bad point. So this will all be detailed in the document you get, and it's a bit, so you understand, if you get a score, you understand how we got there. And there is also support info, like if the show is failing, we will have a full detail for each call we did, on which date, what were the errors from your side. So if you would say that we put in something like 150 attempts, so if after 150 tries to do a show, we get still a failure, we stop. And we would tell you, look, there is an issue. And this is what you can use then to go and check on your system, like what's wrong with, why was the service not available, or if there is, we once had, I think that for the Netherlands there was some strange character in some of the vacancies, and then you fixed it and then it went on. So you, not only you get the problems, we also try to provide you with information you can go and find out what is wrong. And if we see issues with the replication, like this one is from a long time ago, we had a problem with the United Kingdom because they need to increase some heap space on Java, which is just a setting on a machine. Just a setting, it's maybe simple, but they fixed it and that's gone. So if we would have a real blocking issue, it's no use in having all these replication, then we would open a ticket so we really are informed, like there is a major issue here. It's not just this evening that the system was not running. This is we had the same, I think, for Germany. They had the problem only at 11 at night that the application was not running. We opened an issue, they investigate, it's fixed. So if we know that there is a structural issue, we will use Jira and not just have a application report going bad, bad, bad and say, ah, you had a 0 score there. So that's the idea. And that ends up in this great report. So when Elke is going to make these reports, I will stay out of the office because she will get a head like this. And then we come to the data quality, which is also, we have a report on this. And if there would be anything not covered by the report, we will open Jira tickets. We will tell you the quality of the optional fields, but that's only for information, because the optional fields should not be. And there is a number of measures, I will just go there. This is the report we get. So we get from each replication an overview for each of the fields, if they are required or not, how much of them were empty, invalid, or valid. So this is the information. Each moment we run, we know how good your data was. So for 1 month, I can tell you that your ISCO codes were like this on quality, day by day. Before, you know, we only had, I see an issue, I open the ticket, and as long as the ticket would be there, you would have a penalty. Now it's really, if you solve the thing in the middle of the month, from that moment your score is upgraded. So it's really trying to find day by day how good you were. And also there are some support. So if there are invalid codes, we provide you with the codes and numbers of vacancies that have the issue. So again, you get all the information because it's ending up on your desk and you have to go to someone saying, and I know how it then goes with the IT people saying, yeah, okay, there is an issue, but give me an example. They need to go in and do a check or reproduce this and find it. So that's why we're also producing this. When we have the real thing, I'm not telling you to agree on the structure. When we have the real thing, we'll organize things so you get hand-on real reports to ask questions. So there is one change based on your feedback there. We had the contact field as a required field. As we said, it's going to be swapped with the how to apply. The how to apply should be filled in, and the contact field is an optional one. So those two fields are going to be swapped. So this has also been asked as an update on the report. And then we come to the one that we changed. If you have a change task, meaning like the security one, which we're going to introduce to you today, which has a potential change over time, is the idea would be we bring the task in a group. First we introduce, just so you know, we bring as much information as possible. This enables you to go already back and ask your people what's the impact and see what we're producing to give me feedback saying you didn't think about that or whatever. So we have the phase of sharing information and I can get feedback from you. And then we introduce the task saying now we want you to execute it and we set a deadline. Two possibilities. If we get a deadline set that I even cannot negotiate because, for instance, on the security, if at the Commission some security officer said this has to be okay by then, or we shut you down, then I will have to come and say the deadline is by then. So that's the deadline set by us. In all the other cases, and that's what I prefer, is that I would prefer that we introduce the task. The moment I get enough details for you, you go back and you communicate within an agreed time frame, you communicate to me your feasibility date to implement this task. So like if you would do the NACE codes as we did before, I introduce the task. If today I would say, no, we have an official description what you need to do, this is it, I would ask you that, for instance, within 3 weeks, can you provide me all a deadline? Based on all these deadlines, in the next meeting, we introduce, or by email, we introduce the task in the JIRA system, you know, the official place where we open the task, and the deadline will be communicated saying this is based on what we saw the deadline. If the deadline would be then not, for some of you the deadline would not be feasible, okay, we have to see there, but at least the idea is to have a kind of a handshake, like what can we do here? And that would become our common. We discussed before having an individual one, but I think that's a bit of an overkill. I think for most of the tasks we ask if we are way up front, we can communicate, it would be feasible, and we put an end date which is quite feasible for all of you. So, how is the scoring going? It's very simple. If you have the task done before the deadline, no penalty. You just go on this on 0 score. If the deadline is there, each month that we go after the deadline, you get a -10 for not being okay in that month for that task, which gives us this as an example. So the first task, number 1, is done in time, so no, or even early. And then the second one is done in time, but the third one, as you see, should have been done, and as of June you got a -10 and it stays there because it's only fixed in December. So you will have a minus score. So if you would look at this as a total year for making a yearly score, you would have a -60 on total. But we are going to score, let's say, per quarter or whatever. So in a quarter it would be -30 if this would be the situation. So the whole idea is that if all of you are just performing well and within the agreed boundaries, this score will stay up to 0. It's only, so before we had something if someone would be early, we would get positive points, but let's not go there. Let's keep it simple. So, do we agree on this proposal? Because this is new, the other ones were just discussed. So feel free to say what you think about this process. If we agree, we have a deal and it becomes final. Like final until we change our mind, of course. Any questions or observations? No? Okay. So all of the above ends up to this report that you will get for a certain period, which is going to tell you how good you're doing based on interoperability. Conclusions. So I guess we are okay for these scores. There is a new document. We got our process manual, you know, with all the Jira process. We added a chapter with all this to that we don't have 3 or 4 documents. So we got one process manual and all about this is in there now. It's on the Dropbox, so you can consult everything which is there on the slides. If we have access to tools and reports, we're going to add the information there, how to go then and find the report, and if we have reports, how to read them. So everything is going to go as we go in this document. That's the plan. The score can be calculated as of release 3.6 because we have the reports then. So we start calculating as of August. Of course, the access to the tools we only have in 3.8 and I don't know when. So when we have it, it will be informed. And I hope by the next meeting, Friday, 4th of December, I hope, still to be confirmed, because I have to ask this to management that they're okay with this date. I hope to share with you the first results, so the real stuff, that you can see how you would have been doing. And, of course, if ready, the reports, how to consult the reports yourself. That's the conclusion on the quality score. And as ever, if we are live on this and you've got questions, we can always see to adapt things as we go. But I think with this score, we really are going to a level where we have a very detailed screening of the effort you're doing. Because it's not only about having penalties, it's also about showing all the effort. You're keeping the system up and running and reacting to my emails and problems and getting data quality and getting tasks done. So it should not only be seen as ooh, I'm the last of class. That's not sometimes that helps. It can help you to get things moving, I know. But it's also to show like, this is what this group is doing all the time and they're doing this at this level, which is, I think, a big achievement. If you see where we're coming from, when I started 4 years ago, if you see what we are having now and how it's being kept alive and the quality, I think we made an enormous way forward. Okay. I think there was a coffee break now. Yeah. So, and after that we will talk about security. So you need that coffee, I can tell you. I think that was a good warning, a subtle one.
Good morning. My name is Maciej Kowalczyk. I'm an IT security expert from the European Commission. I would like to introduce you a specific security task in the EURES program. I have been working with the EURES team on the IT and business side for the past month in assessing the risks and vulnerabilities of the EURES environment. And one of the results of this risk assessment were specific recommendations to countermeasure the vulnerabilities that were discovered and to introduce activities leading to further securing the EURES environment. One of the things that were observed was that not always the in-system communication in EURES is secure. Particularly on the part of communication between national PES instances and the EURES system via web services. Normally, these web services are using the HTTP protocol that is providing only the basic authentication based on destination, source and destination addresses. However, they are not providing advanced protection, and this is in the long term. This is exposing the EURES system into several threats, which are particular eavesdroppings of the communication, tampering the system communication, and message forgery. For those who are not IT security experts, this can result in either pretending pretending the communication actor by someone else, either from the PES or from the EURES side. This can result in altering the integrity of the sent communications, and even with forgery or faking the whole messages. That's why we have classified these threats as moderately high, and we would like to introduce a task that is leading to providing a universal countermeasure for the whole environment of communication with PES. The proposed countermeasures are the following: that we would like to introduce the secure socket layer and transport layer security protocol that is providing a strong authentication, message non-repudiation between communication and web services, and is also providing the strong encryption for the messages. How it is supposed to will it supposed to work? We would, as we are with EURES and with PES, treat it as a sort of a closed system that we can manage the security in a universal and specific manner. We would like to introduce a specific certificate-based approach that would provide you as PES with the mechanism based on certificates managed by the European Commission to use the certificates and PKI, public infrastructure-based mechanism to do a securing of the communication. We would like to introduce the specific tasks for us and for you on a little bit later. This is just an overview for you, what we would like to do and what we are going to supply you. So from the point of view of investment, there is just an investment in configuration of your systems in a manner that we will introduce you within the task of replacement of the search engine. That would include a new security requirements to the scope. These security requirements will basically cover how the certificates that would enable the communication from your site to be signed will be handled by PES, how you will read, and then how you will fetch this certificate from us. This would also require specific code changes in search engine. And then, as I understood, you have an interoperability contract working group will be introduced with the specific change task on usage of this mechanism by all paths. This task will encompass all the detailed changes needed. From our side, we'll provide you support with configuration and with furnishing the API and with managing the whole public key infrastructure in order to sign this communication. That was quite short, but I would expect questions from you either now or by sending it to us in a later period.
So there are two actions on interoperability to take. One is on our side. It's the search engine API that we are exposing to you where you are doing calls. The next one, which is a topic on the agenda, we're building a new one. That one will have to use HTTPS to communicate, meaning that people that want to use that new API will have to make sure from their side that they communicate with us in a secure way. So there it's covered that we will have a new project, and the implementation documents and supporting documents will have all the information in there for your IT department to know what to do. That's the purpose. So it's going to be covered by that project. The other thing is that we are communicating with you with web services, so sending a request and getting information. Those will need to be changed to use HTTPS, which is a change task, and I see change task that is going to be formulated with, of course, much more detailed information. Because some of you use our code, the default implementation code, that's the name of this, so we have got a package. Some of you are using that, so we're going to have a task in our business plan to investigate if we need to change that, and if that's sufficient, and to provide it to you. As Maciek said, we have these certificates, so we will provide them to you. So for the moment, we just want to announce that this is coming in the future. It's not there yet, that's an official task, but as we agreed, I will inform you as soon as we know something, and that's why Maciek also asked to inform you. You want to say something?
Maybe important thing for the safety of the whole undertaking, we have already trained that mechanism of securing web services with the other DG employment system. So from our side, we have a necessary background and experience to port it to yours.
Yeah. So that would be, yeah, sorry, first question.
I know that now we have...
Bulletin, can you take the mic for the, can you take a mic for the recording?
My voice is little loud. It's working? Okay. I know that in this moment we have a IP filtering between us and you. That means in the future this IP filtering will be no more necessary if we have the certificates.
This is not an exclusive mechanism, so it can stay.
Yeah.
So we have IP filtering and...
Yeah. Because I'm also not really IT, if I understand what you're saying, we ask you to open up your ports for a range of IP addresses. Because this is the gateway that the Commission as a whole is using. All communications coming from the Commission are coming from a range of IPs, and they need to be open on your side. So the Commission is not accepting anything else than to this. So this is, let's say, a first step for us to get out. It's not enough for us to be fully secure, as Maciek is saying. But that will, so I guess this will stay, because to get out, we still need to go through the proxy of the Commission, which is a fixed IP range. Yeah.
Just for you to understand also our level of protection, we also have a specific application firewall that is protecting from unnecessary traffic, even from the addresses that are filtered. So filtering stays, but if we are receiving like a suspicious traffic, this is blocked.
Maybe as a first thing to take with you from this is knowing that we're going to go do this, and as Maciek was saying, we're going to provide you with these certificates. So if I understood, we will have the certificates and you will need to put them somewhere on your server and use them. So what I would like to see is clear information what this means, because that's one of the impacts, that you will have to put certificates somewhere. So I think the next thing is that soon we have this impact analysis of what it means and information to your site, what's the change in detail. That's the first round, to give this information to you so you can go to your IT provider. Some of you I know will have contractors having the service running, so you can go and say, if tomorrow they give me this certificate, security, can you put it on? That's the first kind of responses we need to know. Like, can you do this? Because it's not, let's say, it's not a very difficult task, but we need to be sure that all of you are capable of asking this from whatever server you're running.
So we also, for those of you who want to give some message to your IT, we will be using X509 standard certificates, and these mechanisms are widely accepted in software libraries of the developers. So we're pretty confident that it can be implemented by an average IT company.
So I hope you all are at least having an average one. Okay, any more questions? I'm sure there will be much more questions when we will come to the details, sending it over. But already get the information, you know. So also, if you plan on using the API in the future, you will have to use this kind of secure communication. So it's already something that you could go to your contractor, and if they would raise questions, feel free to go and discuss. And if they would already ask, like, is it going to be this X509, whatever, if they raise questions, send them in already. Then when we're writing this first documentation, I can challenge already that these questions are answered. Okay, any more questions at this level? François? Yeah.
Yes, have you any idea when you want that all the country have done this?
No, so as we said at the beginning, a new task, we're going to communicate about the task when we know the details. First, we need to know from our side, so we have to make the impact, because a lot of the tasks that need to be done to get you going need to be done on our side. So I want first to see in our business plan that the things we need to prepare with all the impact and the details are done. Only at that moment, I can and will ask you to start moving. So the moment we have a plan where things are clear, we will start communicating, and then it's, as we discussed now, I will ask you all to come back with a feasibility date, and we determine together.
Okay, but it's not for this year.
It will depend. I really don't know, as it's not yet on the business plan. It's a fight that our managers have to see, and we are in changes with contractors. So this is also not that I can just say, okay, I'm sure. That's why I don't commit to any dates before I know the contract is signed and happening, because in the contract I have a deadline and then I can tell you. But this is, from the Commission point of view, that's why we want to introduce already, they're putting very high pressure on these risks that they should be solved. So we move as fast as we can, and we will ask you to just do the same as we do with all the tasks. So I don't think it's also going to be blocking. It's going to be a task that needs to be fulfilled, and we'll put the timing. On the API, on the new API, if it's using the secure connection from the beginning, of course, for you to use it, that's something else. But then you know, if I want to get the goodies, I need to comply, that's something else. But as soon as we got more information, I just want to break the news already as soon as possible, as we agreed that, you know, we'll bring extra information as we we go about?
I believe it will be also possible to train this mechanism on an acceptance environment. So I would say this could give the necessary comfort to address all the potential issues.
Okay, thank you, Maciek, for bringing this information.
Thank you, and a good continuation of the meeting.
So, this brings us to one of the interesting topics for me of this meeting is to talk about the project for the search engine API. I don't know, for me a search engine API is something very simple, but I've now had the experience if I try to explain this to managers that it's not a simple thing to explain what an API is and what you can do with it, which is a difficult thing because this is a very important horizontal service that we will provide. So it's important to understand what this thing does or can do, so your business people can decide what we should be doing with it. So I will try today, maybe for some of you will go like, oh man, okay, what is he telling now? We are IT people. So I want to start really with the basics, try to explain. And I'm not an IT guy, so maybe some of these things you go like, this is really very simplistic. So a search engine API, as if you look at it as a black box, it's basically for me web services. It's something that you call from your IT system. So suppose I'm the API. I'm standing here, I'm the API, and Valentin wants to use me as an API. He cannot just go to a website and click on something. He has to do some IT stuff himself. So he has to install some kind of an architecture or some applications to be able to just call me or use me. So it's not that you get an interface completely and that's it. You need to have something on your side installed, which is technology that can call me. Otherwise, I cannot communicate. It's the same if I'm an email server. You need to have something like Outlook or email client to be able to communicate to me. So that's the same. So I'm the API. Valentin is having the software installed, so he can at least call me. He can make a connection with me. And he's sending a request. An API is something like he asks me something, I'm going to look at it, do something, and I will answer. That's what the API, that's what web services do. What he's going to send me has a specific call, so I'm only listening to some commands. It's like my dog. If you tell him to stay, he doesn't understand yet. He knows when I say sit, it's something he understands. So I'm listening only to the commands I know. So if he's sending me something I don't know, I just say, sorry, I don't understand you. So I get a request, which I first should know, saying, that's one I know. And then when I know the message, I know what to expect in there. We have agreed that if it's a sit, that there are going to be some parameters and they should be there and I should be like this. So he sends in something, I will open it and I know to read what is in there. Then I will be listening, I get them, I open up, I read the content, and with the content I'm going to do stuff. So I'm going to fetch things, whatever, do some finding, searching, make a little nice little list, do some sorting, do some quality check, translate, whatever I have to do, what is expected from me. And I'm going to make a new message, a reply message, and I put it in there, also structured in an agreed way, and I send this back over the same connection to the one that asked me. And his system is again set to receive that message, read the content, and do something with it. So it's basically question-answer system where you agree upon what's going back and forward, where this one is doing stuff for you. I'm doing some service. It could be like a MasterCard Visa. He's checking, does this person still have credit? I'm going to check the credit. I'm saying, yes. I'm the one checking the credit, and he just uses me in his program. So that's basically what the API for us, because there are many APIs, what the search engine API is about. It does not provide, so he could build a nice user interface and use me to get the data. I'm not having a user interface. I don't have any front window, so I'm not providing a user interface. So if he has to display this data or get someone to enter the parameters, that's something he still has to do. I'm only listening, answer, listening, answer. That's what the API is about. And that's what we have today. So basically it's a bit the same as what we're doing to you. All of you have running web services where I can say, give me a count of all the vacancies in Romania for that region of temporary contract. This is a count. I send it to him. His system is reading it, he's going to this database, he's making the count, and he's giving me a figure back, and I get the figure. So what we are doing to you, basically this is the same, but then from our side. We are also listening, and you can ask me questions and get information back. So all of you provide information to a system, and I'm the API, and I'm available to answer your questions on the same data, but then for the whole of Europe. So this is in a nutshell. Now I take it to our example usage flow of the real thing we're doing. You have a system that has a web page for your users, so a web application where users can enter search criteria. So they can say, I'm looking for a job in that country, temporary, in that kind of occupation. So they enter the data. When they click the button, find, at that moment, your system takes that data, makes this nice little message, and the Valentin system calls me, I'm listening, I say, I get a find. I read the parameters, I go to my database, I calculate all the data, I take a list of the first 100 vacancies I found, I put 10 fields with information on them, and I'm sending back a find response to your system. So basically your system does not have to have any database, doesn't need to know what are the data or whatever, or how to do searches, doesn't have to have any logic. It just takes input from a user, throws it at me, I'm doing all the work for you, and I'm giving you back what you should show on your screen. Then your system puts them on a nice screen, so that's what you have to do, read the data, make a nice screen in your language, produce it to the end user, and then the user says, that's interesting, let me see page 2, because we only had 100. The moment he hits page 2, again you send me a find, saying, same find, now page 2 please. I will just get the next 100 and send them back over. All of this happens in less than a second, by the way, so it's not something like send an email and 2 days later something will come back. This web service or this API is, you open a connection and the other one is really waiting like, where's my answer? And if this takes too long, you get an error like, no reply coming. So it's a really fast service. So you see that if you build your system, some of you have built such systems, like in the UK, you had these kiosks where people could go find jobs. They would enter things, and this kiosk was driven by getting the vacancies from our system by the API. So you could really build, or you could make a mobile application. I think I've got some examples here. Yeah. Sorry for the heavy slides, but I put a lot of text in it, so if you take it with you, you have full written text. So it's not really a good presentation style, but I'd rather have you having a bit more text here. If you have to go to management, whatever, that can help. Like a mobile application, if I'm doing all the data, instead of you making one web application with all the database connections, if I'm there and you make something for tablet and you make something for iPhone and someone makes even a hard-coded kiosk thing, they all can just use me as the data. You don't have to program the thing of the data on the mobile application. So you just focus on making nice interfaces. For instance, I would make a cross-border search application. I can just make a nice thing where people can select, and I'm only going to ask for jobs in these 3 regions. I'm showing them. So I call the API, give me the jobs for these 3 regions, and I will present them in a nice map with the 3 regions, showing them maybe on a map. I know I can make a great interface. I do the boring work for you of fetching the data and doing quality checks. Second use case is all of you probably have a search for jobs in your national application. You are looking into your own database to find jobs if someone is looking for a job. After the check where you read your own database, you could just add one call to me saying, and what about you? Do you have also vacancies for me? And I could send them to you all the European ones. So not only you would have your own, you could produce on the same list saying, these are the national ones, and there are also like maybe 50 possible hits in Europe. And your user could say, okay, I want to see them. So that's basically one of the ideas of the reform, or one of the vision things, that they would like all the national partners to provide to all the job seekers, not only their own jobs, but all the jobs of Europe using the API. So the idea would be you're all sharing all the vacancies with us, and we make them available to one API, so the only thing you do in all your systems is do one call to us to make sure you also get them. The next question is a real live question I got in the last months. I think I have this on slide. At least, I thought I had it on slide. Yeah, there it is. So, suppose you have a website like this, where you want to show the last 10 new vacancies on a certain criteria. For instance, the last 10 vacancies in IT in a region in Estonia. You can just do a call to our system each time. Give me the most recent 10 vacancies. You just do a request or a find to me, give me those. I will give to you a list of links, hyperlinks, to these vacancies, sorted, most recent first. So if you open this thing, you will get links. If you follow this link, you end up on the portal. On the portal, you can have, this is an example of a URL I got in my email from the new Find a Job. If you click this, you end up on the full detail about that vacancy, rendered by Juris portal. For the API, this website from Estonia could just do a call each time a user opens this site. It does a call to us. Give me the last 10 IT jobs for my region, please. I provide them with the links. They show the links. And if they click them, the person would get the full details coming from the portal. So you see how much easier it becomes for them to provide a service. They only have to implement one call to me with the correct criteria. What they get back is links, in their language even. They just put the links there, clickable. When they click, how the page is rendered with all the details, this is done by the portal. You don't have to develop. The only thing you need to develop is the call and the code to render these links nicely on your website, and all the rest. So this is a combination of using API with the possibility of the OR search function to call a specific vacancy in a detailed page. I want to get you two ideas like what could be done. Sorry to go back. So that's what I've been writing here more in details. So all of this, what you could do depends, of course, I'm standing here, all these comments I receive. If I'm not programmed, if I only can give you a full list with all the details and I cannot give you this link, then you're screwed, because you need to produce a page with all the data. But if we agree that you also want to have this kind of link in the response, if we put it in, you can do this. So that's the stage where we are. You should think about, I know that this US portal has all these vacancies. If I want to do searches on them, what do I want to search on? If I get them back, what do I expect as details? Do I want to have the full details? Would I like to have a link to the Eurus portal? Would I like to have a formatted thing somewhere? I don't know, whatever you could think of. This is the kind of discussion we should go into for this new API. So I hope, so in this case, I'm not providing, me as an API, I'm not making the interface, but there is a Eurus portal there which knows if you ask a specific URL, it will make a nice page with the details. So it's a combination of using me to get the links and using the Eurus portal then to display the details. Of course, displaying these details is not in your style of your web page. It's you go to the Eurus portal. So I hope with this that you understand what an API is and some possible usages to get you into, let's say, brainstorming mode. So if you think about what you're doing in your organization, if you would have ideas. Thanks, by the way, for already this great idea that came from one of you. So it's very important to get these ideas, because otherwise I will not have it in my API. Any questions on that? Is it clear what an API is? Because this is really for me a challenge, and I have to find a way of, because if we're going to provide information somewhere on the portal for people that want to use an API, I need to have in my shop a product description, what this thing means. So if you help me, if you say this is clear or this is not clear, please help me so I can try to make the perfect documentation that you can take to potential partners or to your organization to say, this is what these commissioned people are selling, trying to sell to us. Okay, so feel free to provide any feedback on this. So what about the API?
Christoph?
Yeah.
I was wondering, when I looked at the example, for instance, looking for IT jobs in a certain region, I was wondering if it is very logical to have this on our national website, when people can search for it themselves. So how can they have this message on their mobile phone or something? I'm looking for the easiest way to do it.
So the first thing, of course, to see you've got customers, and oh, I see that this has been unplugged.
This is going to crash.
Okay. Just let me check in a second.
Yeah, you have 26. 26 seconds.
Okay. So basically, you have to see first what you really want to deliver to your customers. Like, is this something that you can deliver yourself? Of course, if you say, I've got my website and having something in my region, I've got all the vacancies there, so I don't need to get any help from you. I've got my own database. You don't do it. But for instance, the example from the UK is a good one, that they were showing the jobs for the UK. They could have got that as well from their national database. But they were so clever to still call the API and say, give me all the jobs for the UK. And they were getting their own, because they were feeding, of course, their own also fed into our system. But they were also getting all the other jobs for the UK, which are coming from the rest of you. Just by having one call to us, they would get everything, instead of making a call to the national one, and then making a call to the portal, and then they have to filter out the doubles. So it starts with, what do you want to do? What's the service you want to deliver to someone? Do you need for that? Can I do something, me as a service? Can I be of any added value? If not, like the cross-border. If you're being in a cross-border, you have the data from your country, but you don't have them from, you can set up a whole system that you're calling your colleagues over there with a filter on their region. You can call them, you can call your own. If we would have them all, and you can just do one call saying, I want these 3 regions, please. You get them in the same order. Also, if you use this different data formats, we will have them in the same format. We have them translated, because that's also something. You can call me. I can provide all the information of the codified in all the languages. So if you say, I want this in Dutch, I want this in French. So You see, the whole idea is that the heavy work on the data and the quality and the translations, that's what the service provider is doing for all of you. Something that you should not do, all of you. And you should focus on, I need to deliver business. What's the best interface? These people, they don't want to type search. I want them to be able to do free typing and it's happening, or I want them to swipe. That's business. How do you deliver to your customer? And you just use us for the boring thing, saying, okay, to get the data, or I need to do the matching. It's a whole different way of thinking. And to get the benefits, I think that's also why I want to share in this meeting, have people sharing their ideas, like the one that I'm sharing now for the links. It's not something that you'll just go, let's do it like this. So the moment you see a couple of ideas, you start thinking, maybe if I adapt this idea, I will not use it for that link, but could we do this? Or could I play a little map or some statistics based on some call I do to you? You have to think like, what do I want to do, and can this guy there, this API, make my life simple? Knowing that if everything works well, we have all the data of everyone in the same format in all languages for the codified information. Because that's the added value. We need to make sure that, for instance, if someone is sending in an incorrect region code, I detect it and I will not display, if you ask this information, I will say region code invalid. So you know that this code was not correct where it came from. But I agree, and that's why I want to have this topic, This is typically somewhere where you need to have the business thinking and generating ideas, where some IT people will just be sitting there and go like, if I put this in my API like this service, then they can do this. I will give you an example of the services that are being proposed now by the contractor to give to you, of how, if you look the building blocks, you see already what could be done with them. Other questions? Yeah.
Will this API be available for other actors as well, or is it exclusively for the employment services?
So the whole idea, the vision, because we're having debates on this internally as well, the vision idea is that we are a Eurus partner network, and that all the partners in the network share what they have, so they all put it into the hub, and only when you are in the club, you are allowed to also take things from the club. This is the high-level vision, meaning that it will not be open to whatever headhunter little company saying, give me this API, I'm going to connect and I'm going to search your database. So on who's allowed to be in, the principal big answer is the Eurus partners. I've got a lot of questions on this if you go down to the level, because if tomorrow we're going to do the club with CVs and vacancies, you maybe can only join with CVs. Can you get my vacancies? So, will you have gold club members and whatever? So these are policy questions. That the vision is clear. We should have a closed, and everyone should be friends and putting everything in and using the data in a correct way. But as you know, there is always this gray zone of, okay, this question, do we allow? For instance, some of you will have partners that you work with a partner. They can become then an associated partner in the portal. Can they just connect to it directly? So if you give the go, if you say, this person is okay for me, because you're in the club, can you allow another one? What are the rules for them to connect? This is being discussed at this moment. For instance, one of the things you will see when I go to the details is the API is meant for interactive use, meaning you should not call me to download the whole database. Nothing like, that's nice, I can call you, give me all the data, and I'm going to build my own statistical database here. The idea is that you call me, you make an interface, you call me, you get one on the data, but never. So we'll have to put a monitoring system in place, watching over that not someone is suddenly standing in like 1,000 requests to give me 100 in 1 minute or something. So that's all to be determined in the rules. Who can join? If you join, how should you behave? Which is, I can tell you, if you go down to details, I come with a lot of questions, and at the moment, together with Antoine, we're putting them on, because it is policy, we're putting them on the desks of the people that have to decide first with some ground rules, and then we will bring them into implementation rules, like what you can do. But the first set is that you all as PES are partners, so for sure all of you can have access. If you comply to the rules we will ask you, you will get the access if you request. And it's going to be secure, so meaning that it's not just something open. You do a request, we put, that's the new thing about security, you put certificates, or whatever that is, and we agree that you can use the API and we start monitoring what you do. Does that answer the question? Yeah. So a lot of other questions to be asked still, and as soon as we have more answers, because this has to come into a document of understanding about the API. So for the moment, life is still easy. You are in the club, and I can share. The moment we go a bit further, we have to do some groundbreaking work there. Okay, other questions? So also with this information, if you go back to it and you've got other questions, feel free. It's very important that this is a major service that we're going to deliver to you. We're going to have an API. This is a search API. You will get the same for searching CVs, but we will have the CVs, and you will get a matching API. This means that if Martin sends me a CV, I will fetch vacancies and give vacancies. If he sends a vacancy, I will fetch the best CVs and give him CVs. That's matching. So there is not criteria. You send me a whole object, also structured, of course. That's why we need the new standards. So we will invest a lot in making the system, and the system is very intelligent of doing matching and searching and criteria and translations. That's why we want to take the costs. If no one of you is going to use this API, it's not, because for the portal we have a search for a job. But I'm always saying this image to Antoine. If you look at an iceberg, what we do on the portal is going to be the tip, 20%. The self-service is a couple of millions of people coming, doing some searches on our portal. But the millions and millions and millions of people are at the PES, are on your side. So it's there where we want to deliver the final placement by offering you more vacancies, more CVs, more data that they can get this person a job and maybe even in another country. So that's clearly the vision. And this is a complete change in mind, so I'm introducing this at this level, so I hope that for your management becomes clear that this investment is not done for us, it's an API for you. That's why we need to get from you some business ideas, otherwise it's going to be an empty running box. Yeah.
This API is made especially for us, or you intend to use, or you intend that EURES portal use the same API as data?
Yeah. Behind the scenes, because that's basically what's happening, of course, that if you look at our search for a job, and that's a good point, I will just go quickly there. Thanks for giving me this chance of promoting the portal. So this is our current beta. So if you see the screen already, it's been doing a couple of services behind the scenes. It's been asking, for instance, for each location in the current selection, how many vacancies there are, how many are there for Germany, because it has to put a figure there. So when this screen was built, it had asked to the system, give me for all of the available countries the number of jobs you have in the current selection, which is nothing. So these are these figures. The same for this. So behind the screen there are a lot of these services which are programmed already. The only thing you have to do then is to expose them. The moment I say, I don't keep them to myself, I'm going to make it possible for you to call the same service, and that's what's going to happen. You will be able to build exactly the same. If you say, I don't care, but I want to do better on this facet, because the one from Commission is really, I'm going to make the super facet. You just call the same thing, you get the data, and you show it in a completely different way if you want. So that's the idea, that the data, getting the data and the numbers here, each time I do something, all the data is recalculating. This is just a couple of services. And if you would do me, each time I call and I provide all this data, you could produce this screen in no time. So yes, and that's what you will see when I show you the services that we are thinking of. But but everything on this screen can be built with them. So for instance, if I do a keyword like here, agile, the moment I hit the button search, it's going to do a search in the United Kingdom because it's already selected, you see, and for the keyword agile. So what's happening now is there is one service running, doing a find, getting some data, and it's producing the list. And then the next service is asking to all the facets here, like, guys, there was a new keyword, can you please recalculate the numbers based on the new selection? That's another service. Calculate possible entries and how much there are for them in one of the languages. Because I could do the same switching to Dutch, then it would all be in Dutch. All of this is done by, and it's just an interface that you build, and all of them can be exposed, and of course that's the cheapest. It's been developed, services are there. So just making them available is like a quick win. So good question. So that's one idea, is that things like that you should be able to build yourself with the services that's what I put in the contract as a basic starting point, that you should be able to build all of the things that you see, all the features, like searching only by job title, by description, by employer name, by number. By the way, that's too well hidden. If you enter a unique number of a vacancy, it will find it for you. It gets so much weight that it will turn up the first one. I know it's hidden. It should be somewhere clearly to a user that he could search on an ID, but it was not yet agreed how to do it in the interface. So that's also something you would be able to say, I need to have all the information of that vacancy. Okay? Other questions? I'm sure we will have a lot of questions on this, and I'm only starting here. I want to get all of you basic level. What's an API? Propose what we're doing, and to get this kind of discussions going on. Yeah, Mike.
It's just a comment, Christoph. It's Mark McDad from the UK. We've been using the search engine API since 2006, and one of the complexities for us is if you have a significant number of non-national vacancies on your system as well, is the design solution that your contractor puts forward to merge the non-national vacancies and those returned by the search engine API. And that can cause a bit of a problem, because generally speaking, the contractor will go down a route of having two alternatives to be able to merge the two together, how they're shown on your system.
Good point. This is already, now just getting this business point makes me think of something I want to put in the requirements. Like, you want to do a find to me, and maybe you want to say, exclude the ones coming from this source, meaning yours. Because if you have them on your own system, maybe you say, okay, if I'm going to ask you the vacancies and I'm going to display them together with mine I have myself and I've got much better information on them. So if I do a find, I want to get all from you except the ones that I give to you on the data. So this is a business need which I will write down saying there needs to be a criteria that you can program saying exclude the ones coming from this source, which I think is already in something which was in the first API that you were excluding some for some reason. But you see, it's thinking business, like I want to do this, but I don't want that, which can be an important input for us to put, so this one I have to check for sure, that this will be one of the criteria. Good point. So please, this is also, if you think about something else, don't think, oh, this is a stupid question, or ask it, because we could be missing. Now comes the stupid question.
Yeah. Thank you. Now, we've been discussing this sort of thing for quite a few years. Should we be registering vacancies, say Norwegian vacancies, in the Swedish system, or should we be registering vacancies in Spain in the Swedish system? If we were to use the API, then and if we were all to use it, then we could get to a situation where we wouldn't have to do that, where we could say to the employer who's wanting to employ somebody in Spain, well, get in touch with the Spanish Public Employment Service, register it there that your job is in Spain, but you're looking for people from Sweden, and then your vacancy will show up in the Swedish system. The problem that we have, say, with we have a lot of vacancies from Norway, and checking the reliability of the, checking the employer. Is this is the employer well known to the pairs, and because we have a responsibility to the job seekers as well, that we want to be able to be providing good information about the sort of employment, and we've had a number of cases where people have been ripped off or by employers that weren't really very serious, and that using this, I can see down the road, if we were to come to an understanding that okay, use the API instead of registering vacancies in our own systems would be a lot easier in the long run, I think. That's my humble opinion.
Very good observation, because this is the service-oriented thinking, that you don't do things that someone else is already doing for you. You focus on delivering someone that comes to you. You want to help them. You don't want to be the one having to put in all the data for. So, but this is of course at political level, and I think it's very good with this vision to raise this kind of suggestions, because I know there are quite some debates. Also, I think with Norwegian, where there was a question: what should we put them in, or should they only be put there? That's the needs to make clear at policy level. For us, it's very simple. We take all the data, we index it, we know where it comes from. So the owner for us is very important. So at a certain moment, you may find a vacancy through us, but to get to the real thing, you maybe will go to one of your colleagues. But there is a link to their system, and they will fetch you all the data. Again, there, the portal should not be storing all the gritty little details. We need to be there to index and to find things for you and show you, like the yellow pages. The thing you need is with Hai. Go there, and the two of you provide the service to the end customer, and you score. And that's the vision. And if you go this way, the vision, as you're saying, could be great. But of course, it starts with something. Now it's not. We are not yet there, so it's a bit, the chicken and the egg. Should your ID go first, be enforced, and then we do it, or should we just start doing it and then? So our idea here from IT system is we're going to provide a system, we're going to make it possible to do this. We have a clear vision of what we want to do, and we will see. And at the beginning, because also we want to have a standard which is also can be used by the industry, so that if tomorrow you've got a big employer which is going to use our standards, they could be very easily coming to you saying, I've got 1,000 vacancies here in your format. Can I hook them into your system just by system-to-system communication? You should be able to do this. So that's really in the vision. We get the data together with you. We provide you the search capabilities, and you deliver the service. But there's a big change. If you see where we're coming from, Job Mobility Portal was only like a self-service for those people that don't want to be helped in your country. They came to us to find a job maybe in another country, towards a shift in you're helping everyone wherever they come. It can be a job in your country or whatever, and the portal is providing services, and you do it. It's not that we only take the happy few and they should all go to the portal. Again, it's my vision. Portal is only tip of the iceberg. Of course, we need to have some self-service for people coming to the portal. If you have the examples of the nice websites where you use the API, a person cannot be better served than going to a dedicated site for him in his language with his contact persons, and he gets served. I still believe that this is much better than on a portal where we only can provide some information. But that's my view. Windows API. The current one, the existing one, has a lot of issues. It's a very complex thing, and it's not really, I know some of the comments we have, there's a lot of comments are really not working well. So I've been warning everyone, stay out, don't use them. Most of you do. For instance, this whole ISCO nuts conversion that we've been doing is totally covered in the index table, but the API doesn't know about. So if you are sending in now a code in still, because it's still using the old ISCO 88 code, if you do a request in 88 and it goes into database and there are a lot of 08 codes, it may give you complete wrong results today. So this API was not, let's say, the best, and it's getting worse and worse because we are changing the system. So we need to get rid of it. So we are not allowing users now normally for, I think, more than a year. I know a lot of you have been knocking, I need to do this, can I please get access, I just want to test. I'm saying no for the reasons of the bugs, and no also for we will have a new API. I have to admit that saying we will have a new API soon, I started saying this I think 2 years ago. It's happening. So that's the good news. The API version 2 is going to have the same comments as before, but now develop completely getting them from the index table. The old one was doing calls to all of you. The new one is going to the index table. So the good news is we will guarantee that the comments are working. So what they have to do, they will do it correctly, and they will be using our controlled quality data. So if you ask for an ISCO code, we know which are the ISCO codes in there, and we can only get the ones which are correct. So that's the uplift you will get if you upgrade to the new product V2. It works, and quality is guaranteed. And all users of V1 will be pushed to upgrade as the V1 is going to be stopped at a certain moment. This is not because we want to get rid of it only for the bugs. And there was a question before, at that moment, the last thing about the old search engine stops working. And then we can stop the find and the count web services. Because this old API is still heavily depending on using find and count to you. So the moment we got the last of you jumping from V1 to V2, celebration, and we can kick out a new saying, guys, 2 web services less to be worried about. I think all of us would be very happy. So 2 just is the same, the selected comments. We selected some of the comments. Those ones will be supported for a while. Again, the arrow is not going into eternity because all new users, we really want to have you go into version 3. Version 3 is going to have completely new comments, a completely new system. It's also going to work on the index table, and all of you are welcome. So that's the good news. So if you're not using the API today, if it's going to be a question, of course, I would have expected a question. I don't want to go to V2 if you can give me V3 soon enough, then I will just jump immediately to V3, and as long as I cannot provide the dates, and I think there will be quite some time between, because like version 2 is already analyzed. I've got the analyzer, I have to validate it, because it's the same command, so it can go quickly, and normally it should be developed on the plan. It was for this quarter, so it should be there, let's say, pretty soon. And also switching is not so hard, because it's the same command. You just have to give the same command to another location, and you should get the same thing back. The only thing we need to do is do some testing with a few of you on a test server to see if it works, and then we can go live. So V2 should happen next month, I hope. V3, we're only starting the analysis. So a contract has been signed now to do a full analysis, making a documentation of what these calls will do. That's why I want to have your inputs, and I will also circulate this document if I have it, to show you this is what we're going to develop, and you will have full transparency. Based on that, I don't know, depends on how much is in there, we will have a phased approach, or we do all the comments, or we do a selection of them faster, to be seen. But I need a first analysis. If we know what we need, then only we can plan development. So, also I don't have a development contract of that, so I cannot say anything. It's most asked question, when will you have this? As long as I don't have the analysis and the impact and the cost assessment, I cannot request to my chiefs to get a, and we are in shift of contractors, which doesn't really help going fast, as you imagine. So as soon as I've got more news, we will work on the requirements with you. As soon as I know by when, we will go there. It's still a debate if we would open up version 2, because once we are on version 2, I really want to ask everyone to go to 3 so we can also stop working on version 2. If we would open up version 2 to new users. If you would say like, okay, I cannot wait for this V3, I just have a simple thing to do. Please give me access and I can get the data. It's to be seen. So if some of you say, I'm new and I want to use V2, maybe for your request, if V3 takes too long, maybe we can see if you can do something with still the old one. It all depends on how much cost you have to do to implement, of course. So this is the plan. The good news is we are moving. I would have more solid dates, but that's life. Any questions on the plan?
Could you know something more about the new methods of API V3?
That's ongoing, so I got a couple of examples that I will share with you. So at a high level, contractors told me which services they already have in mind, not without the details of which parameter, but that's the first thing, like which calls can I accept. If we agree on this, what kind of calls you need, they will write full details about criteria and how the response will look. This is going to be circulated to you then immediately for feedback. And this task is ongoing, so the contract is signed, so it's happening now in the next month. I have to admit I don't know the end date of this analysis task, but on the plan it's ending, I think, in Q3. And then the next thing is development.
If I understood correctly here, at the moment there is no available API for the new users.
Correct, yeah. So we closed V1, because it is really, honestly, the quality and to do the effort in there, if this one is going to be there, should be there in a couple of months, don't go there. Because again, all of the other ones we have to foresee transition, testing, support, and it just takes away our effort from what we should be working on, which is the new. So.
But you also said that the V2 is closed, if I...
Yeah, but that's open for debate. So if someone says, look, I could do great things with V2, and I accept the fact that there's going to be a V3, because this one will need to be supported, because everyone that is just going from V1 to V2, that's easy, so they will do it. But going from V2 to V3, I don't know, maybe that could be harder. So a lot of people may want to stay quite long with the V2 because they say, look, we don't have budget this year to really use. And we don't have problems running the V2. We only want to get rid of the V1 because this is old system, we need to stop. V2 we can support. It's running on a new system, so we can support this as long as we want. So if some of you think they would like to use the V2, raise the question by email to me, then I can take it back and see what's the policy.
And where can the V2 specifications be found?
Yeah, they are in my email box. It's like the FMES document, a bit the same, but I'm not happy with them because if you read them, there are some things in there, but if I look at them from your point of view, a lot is missing. Like, it's only having the response back to you, the details, but you need to see, of course, how your request should look. Otherwise, you don't know how to go. So this is at the stage, it comes on my desk, I do a validation. At the moment, the validation is good enough that I think I can share. I will share the draft because on V1 as well, there is almost, I'm not the ones that implemented it, I don't know how you did, but on V1, there is no documentation, some vague documents, but there is no support material. So I know when I allow access, I will have trouble because people come back asking questions, and I have to say, so I don't know. So this was there before I came, and it's been running as a black box. And people have made great things, but I think it was then with the contractor together that they set it up. I want to raise a question on the contact persons of this API. Until now, there is a separate list of all the current users with a name and which comments you're using. And if we are having a downtime, we are sending an email to them. But I've noticed that we are informed of people in your group changing, but sometimes this person is also someone else or has left. And then we are informing you of downtimes or of changes like the V1, and these mails never get anywhere, which is of course not acceptable, I think, to this group. So my proposal is to bring all communication about the API also to the IOC level, and that you can have people assigned in your organization to do the details or to use it, but at least I'm sure that if someone of you changes, that next person also gets to know that you're using this API. You can imagine if your whole website is running on it, and I send an email that we're going to do this and you don't get it, your website is down. So in service provision, it's important that we organize this. If I have new features, what's the better meeting to bring them than here and not directly to these people, because they may are just implementing things and they not have the capability of say, hey, I'm going to use this. These people are just doing their job. Changes, notifications, like security changes we have now, I think it should be better to have this all at your level. So if you would agree, then we would set up the process of showing you or telling you which are the contact persons today, and that you go in communication with them to see if you take over this role, and then all communication process internally with us, I change them or I inform people that I have to inform you from now on, unless anyone has a severe objection to this proposal. Accepted? I'm running a bit behind, but just I want to share you these ideas. So this is, on a high level, the kind of services, if I'm V3, that I'm accepting. There are two search services. The first one, you ask me, I want to know jobs with the keyword agile in Germany, temporary contracts. What I'm going to give back to you is a first page of results, and for all these facets, this is what the filters are at the left. So for all other possible criteria, the numbers. So I would tell to you, okay, here are 100 jobs that fit. By the way, for Germany there are 10, for this country there's so much, for this country there's so much, for this kind of contract there are so much. So all the other criteria for all possible entries, figures. With this response, you could use the search page that we saw from the beta. You can fill up facets with selections, with numbers. It will have all these labels in it, in your country, in your language. So if you do this in German, you will have the ones in German, sorry. So this first service is a very powerful first search, which already offers you a lot of details if you want to present to a user more possibilities. So while he's been typing something, immediately you can fill up other boxes saying, do you want them by this contract or by this, because there are 10 of this, 10 of that. So you can really build an interactive thing where this service is not fetching all the data, it's just giving first results, so you can immediately fill a screen with something, the first 100, and fill up other possibilities for refining search. So I think this is a very powerful search. And the second one doesn't give back all these facets. It's if you say, I know now I reach and I want to show page 2, 3, 4, I want to have more data. Then you just call a second one, which has not all the, because the first one is heavy, of course, it has all these facets and numbers in there. The second one is just focusing on more data. So with these two, you produce the full screen of our Find a Job. You can have all the criteria. If someone hits it, you get the page to show, the first one, and all to make the facets. If someone says page 2, you just call the second one and you fetch. This is how our system works, as you asked. So what's happening when you go to the next page? It calls the second one, and the first takes the first, so it's not rocket science. So with these two, you make the full interface and the list, and then of course when someone says, I want to see details, that's the show, which is important. It not only gives you all the codified information, it can also produce this with all the labels in your language. So for instance, it will tell you, contract type is 3, and it will say temporary contract. Or in your language, telecontract, if you ask the information in Dutch. So this gives you all the information to make a nice page with the details in your language. Of course, the description, which came from the original one, if that one was for instance, in Dutch, it's still going to be in Dutch, unless we use our to-be translation system. If you would plug this in and use it, we could see if we can provide that service as well, but that's to be seen. So, the differentiation between the two counts, I hope I made it clear. It's a bit, now we're going a bit already into the technical. That's why the whole introduction, to hope that you might see what this leads you to. So with this, we do the whole searching and showing details. Then, another one is like an information one, which can give you possibilities. Suppose you need to fill up a search screen and you have to tell the person a drop-down box with all more possible contract types. You didn't do a search yet. You don't want to do a you want to list the possibilities. With doing this call, you can ask our system, hey, give me all possibilities on that field in my language. You get all the nice labels and you put them in your search criteria. So this is a kind of supporting service that can give you choices. Give me the choices for this field. Give me the choices for countries. What are the regions? What are the within some settings? So again, something that you can use. You go to a mobile phone and you want the first thing that the person has to check is a country, and then you want to display all the regions. Without doing a search, you're not searching, you're just doing user interface, and you want to know what is possible. This service can, by the way, this is from version 1. It's been used by colleagues from Maasland Rijn, cross-border. The whole interface there, they're getting everything by doing calls. They are not having anything hard-coded in database tables. They're all getting. And then a nice service to get statistics. Somewhere you want to show there are so many jobs in this system. You're not going to do a very heavy find, saying find all. So we will have some basic statistics that can tell you how many jobs there are in a region or a country. So if you want to display on your home page of your application, there are so many jobs in France, you just call this one and you can display this system holds so many vacancies. Please start searching. So again, also one that we are using. If you go to our home page that says this US portal holds so many vacancies, that's this one. So these are the current services. So see, there are not a lot of services. If these services just accept a lot of possible parameters and provide a lot of information back, you can do whatever you want with them. So now the question is, if you think tomorrow I want to do this, yep, then I can say, yep, I will do this with browse in a given search with this criteria. I can do. So that's the whole point of getting to this list. If you have IDs, I will check if I can do it with these magic words. It will be, and now I'm getting to something I just took from the contractor. These are things that I always hear, but if you ask me what's the difference with these, I don't know. It will be a REST API. It's a buzzword that I hear now all days. It has to be REST API. So all the messages will be in JSON. Also something that I now hear, and XML is not foreseen for now. I was going a bit like, but I want to hear from you what you think about that. Again, for me, this is Chinese. I know that these are formats, and JSON is very much wanted these days. But I'm just sharing whatever they're proposing. So if you have something like, oh my God, no, why do you do this? This is something where you could react to. We want to support multiple versions of a format. This is very important because before we had, in the old one, we had a find, and then there was a find multi made afterwards, and there was a find multi v1 made afterwards. So if we wanted to change something to the content, we were just making a new service with a new name. This is horror. So the whole idea would be that if we have this service, if you call me, and at a certain moment we say like, you can call me and you can use, for instance, ISCO for occupation, and tomorrow I want to allow you to do ESCO, then you can use the same call. You can call me, and in the thing you can say, by the way, I'm asking you by ESCO. So that within the content we can already accommodate for change without you asking to make a whole new system. But it's very evident if you see it, but the current system didn't do it. So it's just something to say, don't go there again. We want to have systems, and if some of you are doing different messages because we agreed upon, it should be possible. That's what it's saying. Define that it could return this list. That's what we said, that it should maybe not produce all the results, but just a hyperlink. So you say, give me all the jobs, and you get a hyperlinks to details page. Of course, you need to get error messages, because if you ask for a vacancy and it's no longer there, or the best where it comes from is down, we have to agree on a message that you can display. API should be interactive mode, so no downloading. The whole attention is that you call us page by page interactively and not download the whole database, because then it's not an API. And this last point is something very interesting. I told you in the beginning that for Valentin to call me, he has to put the whole system in place there. The idea would be, like, we also have what we call the default implementation, which is a package delivered by DG Ample that you install on your system and configure, and that's your web services. We want to do the same maybe with the API, meaning that you get a package which you put on your system, which is already doing this communication, which already knows which comments there are, and with examples of calls to do to us. So if you get this, if you give this to a developer, he gets like a house which is already like a bit built, and he can go in and adapt and change and reuse some parts and say, okay, this I like, this I don't like, I'm going to adapt. So this could speed up development on your side even much more, saying that you get the thing that you need on your side already pretty far. That's how I understood what is. Of course, it all needs to be approved by Antoine, and we have to get budgets for all of these IDs. So this is in a preliminary state of IDs. So also on these things, if you think like, okay, this is something we really stress, we would like to do, we want to have this, provide the feedback. This is the current state, it's very high level. Feedback is welcome already there. As soon as if we get into more details, like specs on criteria, whole idea is to start sharing with you. This API and all the requirements should be formed with this group and should be used by this group. So this is what I can share at this moment. It's only now going for 1 month, V3, this analysis. So I want to share with you. Please feel free to share whatever ideas you have on this, because it's not for me. Any questions? Because I think we're...
Just one more.
Yeah.
One word question. When?
Yeah, that's the only question I cannot answer. So on V3, we started, I've got to go to do this analysis, so I will have a document describing on paper what the things will look like with the criteria, the development of this. I'm the same as Antoine. If it's not in the plan formally accepted, I don't say that it will be there. Correct?
Yeah. One message I'd like to pass actually. I think I need the microphone. That's why I mentioned I was rookie number 2 in the beginning. So because when I moved into this team, I realized that maybe with a valid reason, some people were asking us, when can we have this, when can we have that? And we were promising, and then I go in meetings and everyone was saying, this has been promised for 2 years or for 1 year, and I got pelted with tomatoes. So I said, look, why do we keep on promising when we know that we have a very difficult relationship in trying to get with our Belgian contractors, I mean, or whoever contractor we're using to develop the software. And I'm sure you have in your local world, I'm not saying it's only us. We have problems in developments for a number of reasons. New projects are being requested at policy level also by member states, but also technical issues. So what we decided to do now is we start analyzing, we start working on a product, and as soon as we come close to the launch, we say, okay, as Christophe said a couple of slides earlier, this is going to be there, and that's when we will come to you. It's exactly what you're going to see from, for instance, my colleague Ralph. He will present to you what we're working on the extranet at the moment. We're at a very advanced stage, but I'm sure he's going to tell you exactly like me. When it's going to be delivered, he cannot tell you with certainty. Please, that's why I said we're a kind of family. We're working together on this. Please understand this position, because like this, expectations are managed much better. And we will be in constant dialogue with you. That will definitely happen, as we're doing today. I mean, I'm being extremely honest about you. It's not so smooth sometimes, like just now I had a request for a new project which I have to fit in my business plan, and we're happy to share with you our business plan and update it when it changes. But I think this is a minor change we need to do, which will really manage expectations. So let's focus on what we've delivered now, and you have a very good overview on what we're going to provide to you and what we're going to deliver. And as Christophe showed, you saw right up to Q4. These are things he knows they're already in the oven and they're going to be served, you know, which brings me that it's time for lunch. But come back to discuss if there's still a concern. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
So it is possible that in a couple of months we have dates if things get through, and then, you know, but I only want to commit to dates that are sure, otherwise you get people planning and without any. Okay, so let's have lunch. So we are ready for Ralph's extranet in the afternoon. Thank you.